So we're going to pick up where we left off. Uh, Remember, we're in Rule 10, and we're talking about uh, penalty enforcement on how we enforce uh, fouls and how we determine where we penalize the team, the offended, the team that offended. So we're looking at this in a who, what, where, why format. Um, and then at the same, like I said before, even when you talk to the referee, if you're not the referee who called the foul, um, that's the type of information they're going to need to know. The who fouled, was it A or B? Was it K or R? Um, what type of foul was it? What so because the and then what type of play was it? Was it doing a loose ball play? Was it doing a run? And then uh what type of foul, what type of play, and then that help us to determine where the spot is that we're going to do the enforcement. Okay, so it's the who, what, where, and so now we're on where, and we're talking about the basic spot. So the basic spot again is a reference point for where we is going to mark off the foul from. And we learned that there are actually 6 basic spots. Okay, so understand that the basic spot, and even when I say it's like it's kind of like, it sounds kind of elusive, because like the basic spot, it could be this, the basic spot could be that, all depending on the who, what, and the who and the what. Okay, so now we're talking about the basic spot for a scrimmage kick. And right here it says the basic spot is the spot where the kick ends when R commits a post scrimmage kick foul, also referred to as a PSK foul. Right. So you hear a lot of people just say PSK foul. They won't say the whole name, post scrimmage kick foul. And this is where a lot of confusion can happen at in a kicking game on a post scrimmage kick foul. And so let's go on and let's find out what is a post scrimmage kick foul. So in Rule 216.2H, a foul by R when the foul occurs. Okay, so it's a foul by R. When we're talking about a PSK foul, we ain't talking about a foul on K. It's exclusive for R. So a foul by R when the foul occurs during a scrimmage kick plays other than a try or a successful field goal. Couple of things here. This a PSK only applies to a scrimmage kick. So basically a punt or an unsuccessful field goal. All right. So if the field if K is trying to go for a field goal and it's unsuccessful, then it turns into basically a scrimmage kick punt. It just there's a holder and it kicks the ball. Right. And it doesn't apply to a try, obviously, and it doesn't apply to a successful field goal, but it does apply to an unsuccessful field goal. Other than, remember, other than means to the exception of, and does not apply to the following. Does not apply to a try or a successful field goal. So obviously, we're talking about a scrimmage kick. All right, go on. The ball crosses the expanded neutral zone. Okay, so the PSK foul rule only applies to a ball that crosses the expanded neutral zone, which is the expanded neutral zone goes 2 yards into the defensive side of the ball for 2 yards. Okay, so if the ball doesn't cross that expanded neutral zone, then we cannot apply the PSK foul rule. Beyond the expanded neutral zone. So in other words, the foul by R has to have been committed beyond the expanded neutral zone. So down the field, like 2 yards deeper than the defensive line of scrimmage, the foul must occur in downfield, let's say that, in order for a PSK foul to apply. All right. So right now we're just learning, okay, if we're going to enforce a PSK foul, and we're going to talk about how we enforce that, in order to enforce it, these things have to be present. If they're not present, then it's not a PSK foul, and we go to the all but one principle, and we go to the basic spot for a loose ball and a basic spot for a run. Depending if it's a loose ball, is the previous spot. If it's a run, is the basic spot is the end of the run, and depending on what team fouled. But so far, it's going to be on a scrimmage kick. The ball has to cross the expanded neutral zone, and the foul by R has to be beyond the expanded neutral zone. All right, and it must happen before the kick ends. So, and we're gonna actually look at that again. Let's see if you understand that you know when the kick ends. But the foul must occur beyond before the kick has ended. And number 5, and K will not be the next to put the ball in play. In other words, at the end of the kick, if K has possession of the ball, then there's no PSK foul rule. All right. So they go downfield, and let's say R touches the ball and K recovers. R picks the ball up and they start running. They got tackled. They fumble the ball, and K recovers the ball. Then the PSK foul does not apply. All right. So these are the 5 things, the 5 ingredients, I like to say, to a PSK foul. Obviously, got to be doing a scrimmage kick. So a free kick does not apply. And it can't be in a try or successful field goal. The ball must cross the expanded neutral zone sometime during the kick. The foul by R must be beyond the expanded neutral zone. The foul must occur before the kick ends. And K cannot be the next to put the ball in play. All right. So let's move forward. All right. So here go a little diagram. When this diagram was made, the rule was found on the rule 216.2G, but now it's 216.2H. So they added some other definitions, and they pushed the PSK enforcement to H, not G. All right. So this is when it first came out. So let's look at this play here. So the ball is snapped, and we're looking at a scrimmage kick here. And it says R, ooh, that's not cool. Sorry about that. It says R1 holds K2. And then it says the punt crosses the neutral zone. R3 catches the kick and advance. And it says the PSK applies enforcement from the penalty and penalty from the end of the kick. All right. So the end of the kick is where R3 gains possession of the ball. All right. And depending if you're on a 4-man or you're in a 5-man mechanics, whoever is the covering official for R3 would throw a beanbag. And the reason why we do this, and this is why, there's many reasons why we carry the beanbag. It's not just for fumbles. It's for the momentum rule exception, and it's also for for first touching by K on a free kick, and also maybe first touching by K on a scrimmage kick, but it's also to spot where R secures possession of the ball, because this is the end of the kick. And so if there is a foul, and let's say R runs, and there is a foul and on R before the kick ends, then we have the PSK, and it will be enforced from where the kick ends, where R3 secured possession, and we know where to go because the covering official dropped the beanbag. All right. So again, if you're new as an official, now you know another reason why we carry the beanbag is to drop it at the end of the kick. So on this one, again, the ball was snapped, R1 holds downfield. All right. And then so the hold came before the ball was kicked. They don't have to be in the order that is given. So let's say R holds, the ball is kicked, the ball crosses the expanded neutral zone, and R is the last one that has the ball at the end of the kick, at the end of the down. Then we have a PSK foul, and then it's gonna be a 10-yard penalty for the hold, but it won't be from the end of the run where R got tackled. It's gonna be at the end of the kick where R recovered the ball. And again, that's why we drop a beanbag. So another thing here, and I added this one, I didn't add it to the first slide. It's the slide you saw before. In yellow, it says a foul by R other than an illegal substitution or an illegal participation foul that occurs at the snap when the foul occurs. So in other words, with the exception of an illegal substitution or illegal participation, if we have that particular type of foul at the time of the snap, which is simultaneously with the snap foul, then the PSK foul does not apply. So in this slide here, it has two different substitution fouls. And we're going to look at both of them here, right? And we're going to try to explain it for you. An illegal substitution and a legal participation foul by R occurs at the snap in mammogram A. And if you look at it, if you count R, if you count the yellow, then you're going to have 12 yellows on the field. Okay. So obviously this doesn't become a foul until the ball is snapped. So we throw a flag. Okay. Now, R secures the ball, R runs it, and we have a legal participation on R. Well, because it's a illegal participation, because there's a foul at the snap, it does not apply to the PSK rule. So we're going to go back to the previous spot and mark off 15-yard penalty from the previous spot, which is the basic spot. And if that gives K the first down, then K keeps the ball and it's first down. If they're too far back, they can be just a re-kick. But just understand that if there's a illegal participation and a legal substitution at the snap, now how can we get an illegal substitution at the snap? Well, let's look at mammogram B. Now this can be a legal substitution or a legal participation. Now I'll tell you how. All right. So it's an illegal participation foul by team R occurring during the kick, mammogram B, are enforced under the post scrimmage kick enforcement. So it's two different. So they're mentioning two different ways to enforce this. If it happens at the snap, 12 on the field at the ball, and the ball is snapped, the PSK foul the enforcement does not apply. We go back to the previous spot and we mark off 15-yard penalty. If the player comes on the field after the ball is snapped and participates, then where he come on the field and participate is a foul, and that falls under the post scrimmage kick enforcement, and that means R get to keep the ball even though they fouled before the kick ends, and we'll talk about why. Then R would keep the ball. It won't be enforced on the previous spot. It'll be enforced under the all but one principle. So how can we get an illegal substitution foul during the kick? Well, let's say the 12th player came on the field but did not participate in the down. All right, they just stepped on the field. Well, that becomes a non-player foul, and that is enforced under the PSK enforcement because he came on the field after the ball was snapped. All right, let's go back to A for illegal substitution. Let's say the player was trying to run off the field and doesn't get off the field before the ball is snapped. Well, then that's a foul at the snap, and it'd be a 5-yard penalty at the previous spot. The PSK foul does not apply. Now, I know I just jumped back and forth. I don't know if I probably confused you when I did that, and I apologize. It just came in my mind as I was talking about it. If you don't understand it, when we get to Q&A, you can ask, and I'll try to clarify it for you again. So A is a foul that happens at the time of the snap, does not apply to the PSK enforcement rule. And B is a foul that happened after the snap, and it falls under the PSK enforcement rule. All right. Now, let's talk about before the kick ends. I know we addressed this in Rule 6. I don't know if I addressed it in detail, but it just popped out at me, and I want to address it again and talk about what does it mean before the kick ends, or when does a kick ends. Okay. In Table 6.4, now let me give you some backstory here. When I started officiating almost 20 years ago, there was an official named Kenny Calhoun that took me under his wing. And I used to go to his home, and we used to have meetings, and we used to talk about rules. And one of the things that that he drilled in my head that I needed to know, basically verbatim, is this right here. A kick ends when a player gains possession or when the kick becomes dead by rule. So he asked me, he said, Andre, when a kick ends, I say when a player gains possession or it becomes dead by rule. All right. Very important. When does a kick ends? When a player gains possession or when it becomes dead by rule. Again, this is a difference between a trained official and an untrained official. I always tell you that because you got a lot of officials out there who have never been trained. And if you ask them a question, they ain't gonna have an answer for you. They're gonna dilly around, they're gonna play with you, they're gonna try to put something together, but it's never gonna be the what they need to say. All right. A kick ends when a player gains possession or when the ball becomes dead by rule. All right. So if I ask you when a kick ends, what you gonna say? When a player gains possession or when the ball becomes dead by rule. So let's look at this. When a player gains possession. All right. And we're gonna just talk about R in this bracket. Now I know K can gain possession of the ball too, but we'll talk about that in a minute. R gains possession of the ball when a player of R catches or recovers the live ball. All right. Once they got possession of that ball, the kick ends. There's no longer a kick. All right. Very important because K cannot advance a what? K can't advance a kick. Right? So what happens is there's a difference between possession or a muff. A muff is a failed attempt to possess the ball. So just because Art tried to touches the ball doesn't mean that the kick has ended because Art touched the ball. Or they juggled the ball trying to get possession of it. Let's say the ball was kicked, it hit them in their chest. They're trying to get possession of the ball. They drop it. Art picks it up. Remember, it's still a kick because no one possessed the ball. Possession means they has control of the ball. Right? Now, it's not like NFL where they got to make a football move. The rule says if he's holding it and has control of it, it's considered possessed. And that means if he got hit and fumbled, it's a fumble. and it's no longer a kick. So R can advance a fumble. R cannot advance a kick. So when a player gains possession, R. When R gets possession of the ball, the kick ends. That's why we drop the beanbag. So let's talk about dead by rule. When does the ball become dead by rule? Well, when K gains possession. When K gains possession of the ball, the play is dead. We killed it. We blow the whistle. We kill the play. K, you'll see K picking up and try to run into the end zone, and you will see officials trying to follow him into the end zone, which it should not happen because the kick is dead once K gained possession of it. When the ball breaks R's goal line. So if let's say R touches the ball, and then after they touch it, it rolls off him and goes into the goal line. Well, it's a kick because no one possessed the ball. And then once the ball breaks R's goal line, it becomes dead. All right. Hits the ground and flight, doesn't matter. Once it breaks the goal line, the ball is dead. The ball goes out of bounds, obviously. Joint possession of K and R. So on a joint possession, let's say the ball was kicked and R touched it, and then it's rolling on the ground, and K and R jump on the ball together. It's not the NFL. They don't fight for possession of the ball. Once they have joint possession, the kick is over. It's dead, and it belongs to R. All right. So I see this. And the thing is, we're supposed to rule immediately on this. That's what the rule book says. We should rule immediately on joint possession, not see it and then run up there and see who has the ball when they come up. If you see both of them jump on the ball, it is dead and it belongs to R. No fighting, no fussing. Doesn't matter who comes up with the ball. Joint possession is dead and it belongs to R. You kick. All right. And R gives a valid or invalid fair catch signal and catches or recovers the ball. All right. Or any player on R catches and recovers the ball, the play is dead. All right. So now I went over that just to emphasize on that, give a point of emphasis on it so that you know. So again, one more time, when does a kick ends? When a player gains possession or when a kick becomes dead by rule. All right, and those are the examples are when it becomes possessed or dead by rule. All right, so we talked about the clean hand exception. And this is an exemption to that. Remember, in order to maintain possession of a ball for B, for the defense, or let's say B, if they recover or intercept the ball, clean hands means that they did not commit a foul prior to regaining possession of the ball. In a PSK foul, the foul actually happened before they gained possession of the ball. All right. So it says if each team fouls during a down in which there is a change of possession and R fouls are post-scrimmage kick fouls, then R may retain possession of the ball provided R declines the penalty for K's fouls. All right. So why is this? Why do we have this exception? Why do we have what we call a post-scrimmage kick foul? Well, in the rules by topic book, it says this, the rationale. By punting the ball, K has indicated it has ended its attempt to earn a series. PSK allows R to keep the ball after enforcement of a penalty for a foul committed under the correct circumstances. So in other words, the reason why we have the PSK foul or why it exists is this. It's fourth down. The case says we're going to give it up trying to get a new series of downs. We want to give the ball over. And in the course of punting the ball, there's a foul by R. So what the rule says, rather than going under the regular basic spots, remember, if it's a loose ball foul, then we go back to the previous spot and we mark it off, and K may get a first down, or K may, may go for a play. It's saying because K said we're done, then so any foul that falls under the parameters or the ingredients of PSK, or get to keep the ball, even though they fouled before gaining possession of the ball. Right? However, if they both foul, let's say K is holding at the line. Let's see here we go. This one right here. So the punt crosses the neutral zone. K1 holds R2. R5 blocks K4 in the back. All right. R3 makes a fair catch. All right. So that's this. So because when he gained possession of the ball, the kick in there. Right. So we're going to throw a beanbag. Right. So because now only way R be able to keep the ball, if they say we're going to decline the foul by K going to say, okay, we're going to accept the foul on R, and we're going to mark him back 10 yards, but R get to keep the ball. Now, if R said, no, I want to accept the penalty by K, and then we're going to have a double foul, and then the PSK enforcement does not apply, and there'll be a re-kick, or there'll be a replay of down. But the only way K is able to keep the ball when they both foul is by K declining the foul. R, I'm so sorry. The only way R be able to keep the ball when they both teams foul, is R saying we're going to decline K's foul. And then once you decline K's foul, we ask K, do you want to enforce the block in the back? K going to say yes, obviously, and then they'll get the ball on their 45. All right. So I hope that helped you out with the PSK post-scrimmage kick foul. It just means that although R fouled prior to gaining possession of the ball, they're able to keep the ball and get the penalty enforced on their possession at the end of the kick. So if it rolls out of bounds, right, the end of the kick is where it rolls out of bounds. And that's where we're going to enforce the foul on R. If it breaks the goal line, it becomes a touchback. So what's the basic spot for a touchback? The 20-yard line. So we'll enforce the foul from the 20-yard line. All right. If they catch it in the field, or if they catch it and run with it, the end of the kick where they gain possession of the ball is where we enforce the foul. All right. So let's talk about the all but one principle. Now, I get a lot of officials always saying, oh, I want to be a referee. I want to be a referee. I want to be the quote unquote white cap. I don't know why people want to be a referee. I remember when I was 2 years in, I wanted to be a referee. But honestly, you actually show your immaturity by wanting to be a referee. I'm going to tell you, ain't no one who has been doing it long enough wants to be a referee. All right. I get more blame for everything my team, my crew does on the field, even though I didn't throw a flag. They blame me. I'm the bad guy. I didn't even throw the flag. But because I announced it and because I got the white hat on, I'm the bad guy. Now, I digress. When people ask me they want to be a referee, the first thing I ask them is, what is the all but one principle? And I get all kind of luxurious answers. That's the all but one principle is it's when they don't know, they come. I don't know what they be coming in their heads. But again, now the all but one principle is going to change a little bit because of the rule change coming out this year about a foul by behind the line of scrimmage. So there will be a little change to the all but one principle, but not much. Okay. So what is the all but one principle? Right. Now, under football penalty enforcement in your rule book, it says enforcement philosophy is based on the fact that a team is given the advantage of the distance which is gained without assistance of a foul. it is assumed that the only foul which would give this aid is a foul by the offense behind the basic spot. Therefore, all fouls but this one, that is a foul, and then I put in this highlight beyond the neutral zone. So a foul beyond the neutral zone by the offense behind the basic spot are penalized from the spot of the foul. Let's look at the diagram. So there's only, when you're looking at the basic spot, you got two teams. There's only four types of fouls there's going to be. Either the offense is going to foul beyond the basic spot, or they're going to foul behind the basic spot. And then the defense could foul beyond the basic spot, or they're going to foul behind the basic spot. All right. Now, fun fact, because I was trying to come up with an acronym for the 6 basic spots to help you with your memory. And I came up with GEEPS, or GEEPS 20. Now, what I did was I put those letters into the Google. And do you know what a GEEP is? Fun fact, a GEEP is a sheep and a goat hybrid. It's a scientific, when they take the embryo of a sheep and the embryo of a goat and they merge them together to make a sheep goat. That's a GEEP. I didn't even know that. But so GEEPS 20 is how you're going to remember the basic spots. G is for goal line. Now you got 2 E's here. I don't care how you put it. One E is for the end of the kick. The other E is the end of the run. The P is the previous spot. The S is the succeeding spot. And the 20 is the 20-yard line. All right. So to help you memorize what are the 6 basic spots, GEEPS 20. All right. So the basic spot can be any, it could be the goal line, it can be the end of the run, it could be the end of the kick, it could be the previous spot, it could be the succeeding spot, or it can be the 20-yard line. All that is based on the who, what, when, and where. Right. And then based on that information, we determine the basic spot. But let's get off of that. We're talking about the all but one principle. We're talking about there's four different options or 4 different positions where the foul can happen in reference to the basic spot. It can be in front of it, it can be behind it by the offense, it can be in front of it, it can be behind it by the defense. Now, look at another diagram. So basically, the all but one principle is this. If the offense, now the all is talking about the 4. That's the all. There's 4 different fouls, right? Offense foul beyond the basic spot is enforced at the basic spot. The defense foul beyond the basic spot is enforced at the basic spot. The defense foul behind the basic spot is enforced from the basic spot. Now, the all but one is by the offense. That's the one. If offense foul behind the basic spot of the foul, basic spot, the spot of the foul, it becomes the enforcement spot. Now, the exception with the 2003 rule is fouls by offense behind the line of scrimmage would be not all fouls, but again, we're waiting for the rules to come out and we'll be able to clarify that later. It will be enforced from the previous spot, which is the line of scrimmage. All right. So, what is the all but one principle? If we asked, I want to be a referee. Okay. What is the all but one principle? All fouls are penalized from the basic spot, except a foul by offense behind the basic spot. This foul is enforced from the spot of the foul. That is the all but one principle. All fouls are penalized from the basic spot, except for the foul by offense behind the basic spot. This is enforced from the spot of the foul, all but one. All right. So again, and then what's the basic spot? Geeps 20. All right. So let's look at some fundamentals, football fundamentals. This is on page 85 in the rule book. And it says a live ball foul is penalized according to the all but one principle, except fouls which occur simultaneously with the snap. So in other words, all live ball fouls are going to be enforced with all but one principle, except for these 5 or these 6, honestly. So when it comes to these, we don't use the all but one principle. Fouls will occur simultaneously with the snap, which we looked at illegal participation or illegal substitution. If those fouls are simultaneous with the snap fouls, the all but one principle does not apply, and then we apply from the previous spot. A foul by the opponent on a scoring team doing a successful try, field goal, or touchdown when the score is accepted. Now, let's read number 6. Number C, a non-player or unsportsmanlike foul. So let me jump on my little pet peeve, because I want to say it again, because we need to hear it. What does that mean? If the ball is live and the runner throws up a finger or throws up 2 fingers or taunt the defender when it goes into the end zone and we throw the flag, the all but one principle does not apply. So that means we do not go back to where he committed the foul and nullify the touchdown. Right? We don't do it. We don't call back touchdowns for non-player or unsportsmanlike conduct fouls. So that means if a player steps on the field and does not participate and they score a touchdown, the court touchdown stands. Now, if he participates, it becomes an illegal participation and the touchdown does not stand because it's not a non-player foul no more. If a coach steps on the field and they score a touchdown, the touchdown stands because that's a non-player foul. All right. If he's running for a touchdown and somebody cuts out somebody down the field and they throw a flag, we do not call back the touchdown. Because remember, when we read in the beginning that the committee is about scoring a touchdown without an advantage of a foul, right? Or gain yardage without an advantage of a foul. An unsportsmanlike conduct foul does not give the team an advantage on scoring a touchdown. It's not a block in the back. It's not blocking below the waist. You didn't move nobody out the way. So the effort that you scored a touchdown did not, your unsportsmanlike conduct did not have an effect on you scoring a touchdown. So we don't call back that touchdown because the foul that was committed did not have a direct effect on you scoring a touchdown. A player stepping on the field who did not participate did not have a direct, you scored that on your own. They didn't tackle you, they missed the blocks, you taunted, and you threw up 2 fingers or 1 finger, or you put the ball in his face before you scored. That didn't cause you to score a touchdown. So you get to keep your touchdown. All right. The NCAA changed that rule because they were trying to hamper down on unsportsmanlike conduct that happens to the runner taunting the defender. And the NCAA decided they want to change that rule to make a live ball unsportsmanlike conduct fall under the all but one principle, and you can lose your touchdown. But that's in the NCAA, not the NFHS. So stop calling back touchdowns for unsportsmanlike conduct. All right, I'm off. All right, so roughing the passer when the dead ball spot is beyond the neutral zone and there has been a no change of team possession. So in other words, why? Because we're going to enforce that from the end of the run. So that doesn't fall under the all but one principle because the foul for a loose ball as a previous spot. That's the basic spot. But we're not going to apply the all but one principle for that type of foul. We're going to mark it from the end of the run. If there's no team change of team possession. And kick catching interference when the offended team does not accept a penalty of a 15 yards from the spot of the foul. And the red one, I added that a foul by A behind the neutral zone, starting to fall, will not apply the all but one principle, because now if there's a hole by A and the hole happened behind the line of scrimmage, the basic spot, depending on if it's a pass play or run play, if the foul was by A behind the basic spot, we went to the spot of the foul and we enforced the penalty, right? That fall under the all but one principle. But now that any foul committed by A, not all, some of the fouls committed by A behind the neutral zone, we're going to just go back to a whole 5 yards behind the line of scrimmage. We're going to just go to the previous spot and mark it off. Now, if it's beyond the line of scrimmage, then it falls on the all but one principle. Okay. So why special rule, special enforcement? So the following fouls have special enforcement provisions and options for the offended team. Right. So a free kick out of bounds untouched by R. Right. So the reason why they created this foul, because but before, K was like, oh, we know this guy gonna run it back, and they kicked out of bounds on purpose so that the ball won't be kicked to the guy who. Now you can do that on a scrimmage kick, but you can't do that on a free kick. So if it goes out of bounds untouched by R, then you have the options, and we're not gonna cover all the options. It would be all day, but it's not. It got special rule enforcements for that, right? A kick catching interference, obviously. K has to give R an unimpeded opportunity to catch a kick, be it a free kick or a scrimmage kick. So let's say if K run into the ball to catch it, K has to move out the way. If they don't move out the way and R has to go around K, or it bumps into K, it falls under kick catching interference. All right, an unfair act, we talked about that. All the, hey, coach, what do you want me to do? And unfair act, you can't do that. Can't put the ball under your jersey, all that stuff. The rule says really that the referee can use his option on how you want to enforce them, even by scoring a touchdown. So the referee has complete discretion on how he wants to enforce the unfair act. A foul by an opponent of the scoring team on a successful try. So once a team scored a try and there was a foul by B, obviously they can replay the down, or they can take it at the subsequent kickoff. I can't even talk right now. Subsequent kickoff. Thank you. E, a foul by the opponent of the scoring team on a successful field goal. Same thing. They can take the field goal and enforce it on a subsequent kickoff, or they can take the foul and try to score. A foul occurs during or after a touchdown scoring play. Again, you can take it on the try or the subsequent kickoff. Roughing the passer, that foul will be enforced from the end of the run. If it's caught, if it's incomplete, then it would go back to the previous spot and mark off 15-yard penalty with automatic first down. Roughing the kicker or holder, this is a 15-yard penalty from the previous spot, automatic first down. Roughing the snapper, enforced from the previous spot, automatic first down. And fouls by K doing a free kick or scrimmage kick down prior to the end of the legal kick. Now, we went over that earlier, but there's one I did not cover, which I thought was very interesting. I want to cover it here. So on a kick, the K holds while the ball is in flight. All right. So, man, no, it did not. All right, I'm gonna take that away. Sorry about that. Okay. So, the K foul during a kick or returns the kick for a touchdown. Because the foul occurred during the kick and the succeeding spot is the goal line, or only have the penalty, or can only have the penalty enforced on a try. So they can't say I want it on a subsequent kickoff. And I put that in there because that's different, because most scoring plays, other than this type of scoring play, they have the choice of the try or the subsequent kickoff. But on a free kick or a scrimmage kick, or on a it only can be enforced on the try. So the basic spot would be the 3-yard line. So we'll go half the distance, and they'll go for their try. Thought it was interesting. Believe it or not, I didn't even know this until I found it this year. I mean, I didn't know it. I didn't even think about it. But that's why I say, I've been doing this for a very long time, and there's still things I learn when I go through the rule book every year. I love going through the rule book every single year, because every year it's like something else I learned I didn't know. I read it, glossed over it, I gave it meat thought, and then it's like, oh my gosh, that's something new. All right, almost done here. So we talked about the who, what, where, who, what, when, where. I forgot about when. When did the foul happen? Before change of possession, whatever. And then we talked about the why, the special rules. So I threw in the how. That means when we do have the foul, and we got all the whats and all the W's, the 5 W's. How do we enforce it? All right. What do we do now? So when a foul occurs during a live ball, the referee shall, at the end of the down, notify both teams, inform the representative of the offended team, so the team that was fouled on. A double foul, the representative is not consulted since the penalty is offset. Rights of the penalties acceptance are declination. In other words, if you accept it, this will happen. If you decline it, then this will be the down. All that information to be given to the representative. The ensuing down, no, this is something you're going to give, that you're going to tell them what down we're going to be, the distance that will be gained, and the status of the ball for each available choice. All right. Now I'm going to throw in a special ringer in that. All right. I actually found that this year as I was preparing for this lesson, and it has something interested in it. And again, this is why it is important, because a lot of officials, when a foul happens, they turn off their brain for some reason. That's the umpire and the referee taking care of that. I can lollygag and hang out. So prior to the game, the head coach would notify the referee of the designated representative, the coach or player or whoever, who will make decisions regarding penalty acceptance or declinations. Now, when a foul occurs, the linesman or line judge will inform the referee as to the penalty decision if a coach is the decision maker. What does that mean? That means you have a role to play when there's a foul, right? If we have a holding on white, and the black team has to decide, or blue team has to decide how if they're going to accept it or decline it. That wing official, be it the head linesman or line judge on that side, should be looking for the designated representative to ask them, do you want to accept the foul, decline the foul? If you accept it, this happens. If you decline it, this happens. That means you need to know everything just as much as the referee does. And then once he tells you what he wants, you inform the referee. So you have an active role in penalty enforcement, not just sit out there, head linesman, line judge, and twiddle your thumb or have a conversation on the sideline with somebody when you have a job to do. Find out what the foul is, let the coach know, let him know what the possibilities are. Once he makes his decision, inform the referee. All right. And penalty enforcement simplified, preseason guide 2014. Yes, I'm a hoarder. I keep all my pregame football articles from 2004. I got them all. I don't throw them away. And then I go back home and find all this cool information. But it says on page 8 and 9 of the 2014 preseason guide, if you can ever find one, it is often said that the penalty enforcement is a crew responsibility. Unfortunately, some game officials think it's only the referee's responsibility. Instead of studying the rules, they rely on the game officials wearing the white hat to figure it out. While the referee is likely to get the brunt of the blame for any error, if the crew consists of rule experts, hey, rule experts, there likely wouldn't be any enforcement mistakes. By fully understanding the information is what information is needed to properly enforce the penalty for a foul, game officials can do their part to get it right. We all have a responsibility to know the rules. It's not just the referee responsibility, it's all of our responsibilities. You know, and because you're in the class, you agree. All right. So how do we administer penalties? We can find this in the game officials manual. All right. The head linesman. Be certain of the down number. All right. Foul. This is where we can cheat a team out of a down or give a team an extra down. It's when we have fouls, right? When it's a straight boom, 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 3 down, 4 downs, we all get that. But when there's a foul, is it a loss of down? Is it automatic first down, or is it a replay of down? This is where we get in trouble and where we lose track of downs when there's fouls, when there's penalties. We all need to know what gives an automatic first down, what has a loss of down, and what replays the down. Proceed to the succeeding spot. So, head linesman, when there's a foul, and we know what the basic spot is, Geeps 20, what you would do, you would go to the spot that if the coach accepts the foul, this is where the ball will be spotted. Okay? That's where you go. All right? So after you tell the referee the 5 W's, you proceed to the spot where if the penalty is accepted, where it will be snapped from. You move, but your chain crew do not move. So you're going to tell your chain crew, do not move until we make a decision. Then, now, if it's doing a kick, let's say there is encroachment on the kicking team, the head linesman and a 4-man mechanics and a 5-man mechanics, the bike judge does it, you would give the signals, like you will say encroachment on the kicking team, and you'll mark it off. Head linesman, you do that on kicks, not the referee. Now, the line judge, what do? You hold the enforcement spot, be it the basic spot or the spot of the foul. Okay. So the enforcement spot could be the Geeps 20, or if it's the offense, behind the basic spot. You go there. Right? No, sometimes if it's the end of the run, you'll stand there. All right. Now, head linesman and line judge, check the enforcement. All right. Y'all have responsibilities to do. You want to make sure that if the umpire marks it off, was it a 5-yard, 10-yard, or 15-yard penalty? Was it enforced from the correct spot? Line judge, you should be holding the enforcement spot to let the umpire know this is where they're going to start from. Head linesman, you should be waiting on the umpire to get there. So if he goes past you or he stops before you, we know we have a problem. Do not permit athletic trainers or attendants or coaches to come onto the field. How many times we have a foul and the coach says, I want a timeout, and then my head linesman and line judge grants it. You tell them, coach, you have to wait. Right? Once we take care of this, I will revisit you again to see if you want a timeout. Now, if the team wants to go over to the player want to go over to the in front of the team box, that's fine. They can go all the way to the sideline. We can't stop. We're not going to stop that. But allowing them onto the field is a no-no. And head linesman and line judge, do your job. Stop letting these coaches on the field. Again, it's not a time for you to clock out when there's a foul. Right? Don't do that. All right. Relay penalty information to the appropriate coach and to the other game officials if necessary. You have a foul, right, on your side, but it was a foul by the other team. Or they let them know. We got to communicate with one another. We're so quiet on the field. I don't know why. I don't know where that came from. We're supposed to be communicating, talking, sharing information, letting the coaches know what's going on, obviously, because we got to let the referee know if the coach is going to accept it or decline it. We got to let the other game officials know so we'll know what down it is, right? If you tell me I'm the head linesman, the line judge calls the foul, and you tell me it's a block below the waist, I know that's a 15-yard penalty. So I'm going to go 15 yards from where you're at because I know if they accept the foul, this is where we need it. This is going to be our succeeding spot. You need to be there. I need to be there. And you need to hold the enforcement spot. All right. So there's a lot to do with us. It's not just coming out there and hanging out. Again, there's difference between a trained official and an untrained official. All right. All right. Rule 10-1-1. All right. Any distant penalty for a foul can be declined. All right. So if they say, I want to accept the foul, but not the distant penalty, that's fine. For let's say they're going to, the kicker is comfortable from kicking from a certain distance and B encroaches. They can say, oh no, we don't want to take the distant penalty. We just keep it here. That's fine. Right. The choice of options may not be revoked. In other words, if the coach says, I want to accept the foul, it can't come later and say, oh no, never mind, I want to decline it. No, once you make your option, your choice, that's it. You can't change it. All right, decision involving penalties shall be made before any charge timeout may be granted to either team. Head linesman, line judge. Decision involving penalties shall be made before any charge timeout may be granted to either team. There's a foul. I want a timeout. Coach, you have to wait. I cannot give you a timeout. Once we do what we have to do, I will ask you again and see if you want it. All right. But right now, there's no timeout. All right. And a disqualified player must be removed. So even if they decline the foul, if somebody that was fighting, they still have to go, even though they declined the foul. All right. So the score is nullified if any penalty is accepted for a foul other than, with the exception of, this is not included, non-player or unsportsmanlike by A, which occurs during a down, resulting in a successful try, field goal, or touchdown. Again, we do not call back touchdowns. We do not nullify touchdowns because nullify the score because of a non-player unsportsmanlike conduct foul. All right. The enforcement spot is the dead ball spot for roughing the passer when the dead ball spot is beyond the neutral zone and there has been no change of team possession. All right. If the offense team throws an illegal forward pass from its end zone or commits any other foul for which the penalty is accepted and the measurement is from on or behind the goal line, it is a safety. All right. The following fouls by A includes a loss of the right to replay a down, illegal handling of the ball forward, illegal forward pass, and illegal touching of a forward pass by ineligible. All right. The following fouls by B gives A an automatic first down. Roughing the snapper, roughing the kicker or holder, are roughing the passer. Right. When a foul occurs during a dead ball between downs and prior to a free kick or snap, the covering official shall not permit the ball to become alive. The referee shall notify both teams. The representative of the offended team will be presented with the options and the effect of the acceptance or declination, and on the down and distance to be gained. Now, is that one more? Oh, and the representative may accept or decline the penalty. So on dead ball fouls, yes, you're supposed to do the same thing for live ball fouls. Typically, we don't. So we have a false start. We just mark it off. But honestly, by rule, we're supposed to ask the coach, Coach, you want to accept the false start and mark it off or no? Hey, Coach, you want to accept the encroachment on defense and mark it off? Yes or no? So we supposed to do that, but typically we just mark it off. But to let you know, by rule, you're supposed to always ask the coach yes or no. He can accept it or decline a false start or accept or decline an encroachment. They can be 12 on the field. We threw a legal substitution. We just mark it off. But really, in all actuality, the coach get to decide if we mark it off or not. All right. So live ball foul versus dead ball. We're almost done. When a live ball foul by one team is followed by a dead ball foul by the opponents, the penalties are administered separately and in order of their occurrence. So if we have a holding on an offense and a late hit out of bounds by the defense, we mark off both. So we'll go 10 yards and then we'll come back up 15. All right. So they don't offset. Right. When the same team commits a live ball foul, followed by one or more dead ball fouls, all fouls may be penalized. All right. So that can be a 10, 25, 40-yard penalty, 30-yard penalty, depending on how many dead ball fouls they have. All right. And then the enforcement of a penalty cannot take the ball more than half the distance from the enforcement spot to an offending team's goal line. So for 15-yard penalties, that's the 30-yard line. Anything less than 30 yards is half the distance. For a 10-yard penalty, anything less than 20 yards from the goal line is half the distance. And for a 5-yard penalty, anything less than 10 yards is half the distance to the goal line. All right. If the prescribed penalty is greater than this, the ball is placed halfway. Did I miss a F in that halfway? From the spot of the enforcement to the goal line. And that is the end.